The prairie appeared to be baptized in grief as the wind carved through it like something old and melancholy, carrying the breath of snow across the ground. August Tate was holding a tin mug of cold coffee on the front porch of his ranch home. His coat weighed heavily on him and his shoulders were rounded, not from aging, but from too much suffering. The home behind him squealed like an ancient prayer. A wash of cold and quiet obscured the horizon. Then he caught sight of her. She walked out of the white fog. Only she in the storm, no horse or pack. She hobbled, a slight twitch in her gait, as if her leg was recalling an ache she had no more time to experience. She wore a long, threadbare coat. The hem was tattered by rivers and years. Her moccasins were damp and cracked. She didn't give him a look. Not initially. Her dark braids adhered to the back of her garment like ice. As she made her final approach to his porch, he could hear the roughness in her breath. Her eyes weren't begging when they eventually raised. They were deserted. Her voice trembled like trees and wind as she spoke. The kind of empty that made your chest ache. I require a place to stay. I will always work for nothing. He remained silent. It had been years since August Tate had spoken. He observed her. Youthful, about 26 years old, with a wind-burned face and half-swollen eyes from fatigue or something else. There was a split on her lip. In the corner, blood dried. Without saying anything, he took a step back and left the door ajar. After a little pause, she moved into the warmth like a shadow being let in. The door closed softly despite the howling wind behind her. Hours have passed since the fire within was fueled. She fell on the rug next to it and curled up without requesting permission or waiting for benevolence. He pulled out an old patchwork blanket belonging to his late wife and covered her with it. She didn't fight back, but she winced at the touch. She grasped the edges with her naked, cold red fingers. She withheld her name. He didn't inquire. She slept on the floor beside the fire that night. August watched the world turn white as he sat in his rocker next to the window. The snow grew deeper outside. Instead of one heartbeat, there were now just two inside. She was up before him in the morning, using a broom that hadn't been used in months to sweep the floor. He remained silent while she walked around, avoiding eye contact and touching unnecessary objects. She mixed the oats into boiling water and cleaned the tin plates. She simply ladled the bowl and placed it on the table for him. She didn't eat. Every silent motion and every action was done with the respect of someone who was aware of what would happen if she made a mistake. Days went by. He let her use the attic. Since his wife died, it has not been utilized. As though even protest were a luxury, she accepted it without saying anything. Despite the cold, she washed her own clothing in the trough. He saw that she was cleaning with a bruised wrist. Her breath came heavy as she chopped wood, obscuring the air like smoke from a dying fire, but she didn't wabuse. One morning, while kneeling next to a newborn colt that had been limping since birth, he heard her muttering in Lakota. She whispered phrases that melted like river stones while stroking its mane. She bent her head as she saw him observing, embarrassed, to be heard rather than embarrassed by what she had said. Before he had reached the mercantile, the chatter began throughout town. Hear me? He picked one up, most likely fleeing from something. She most likely has a husband or a child stashed somewhere. He didn't respond. After purchasing what he required, he departed. She was cleaning the hearth's interior when he got home. She had small scars on her elbows where her sleeves rolled up. The work caused her face to flush. She avoided looking into his eyes. After observing her for a while, he moved on. He placed a handful of dried wildflowers, including prairie clover and lavender, on the ledge of her attic window that evening. He did not explain why. She didn't inquire. However, she worked with softer hands and quieter footfall the following morning. She started humming soft, wordless tunes occasionally. Her fingers stopped shaking as she served his dinner, even though she still didn't sit next to him, across the room or outdoors. Thunder rolled in the distance one evening. There was a flash of lightning behind the hills. Her respiration changed, and he heard it. She said something in between a prayer and a request while pressing her back against the wall and covering her ears with her hands. She was not touched by August, simply waited for the storm to pass while seated across the room. She spoke later that evening as the wind howled once more. They declared me cursed. Like dried bark, her voice cracked, too white for the community. The town finds it too brown. In any case, a burden. He didn't respond. However, she saw his wife lying on a little carved bench beneath the sycamore tree the following morning. Overnight, he had constructed it. Strong but simple wood. Wild flowers are engraved on the arms. No justification. She started leaving little items close to his seat at the meal. The drink was warm, the linen folded. Beads are threaded through, a pine cone. Silent sacrifices. He did notice, but she never waited for him to do so. When he attempted to carry too many feed bags one morning, she gently placed her hand on his arm. He was stopped like a bullet by a just touch. He was shocked and looked down. She pulled away. Then a rider arrived one gloomy afternoon. August had been repairing the latch on the barn. The sound of the horse's hooves sounded like battle drums. The man had eyes like broken glass, a crooked smile, and a wide-brimmed hat. He gestures past August and says, "There she is." She took, off running. "She's mine!" August did not recoil. "This is my territory. She was purchased." With yellow teeth, the man smiled. "She's property mine." August remained motionless. Juana was standing half-shadowed inside the barn holding a pitchfork in one hand, her face white, but her back straight. "You leave now?" August murmured softly. Pulling a pistol, the man got off his horse. "You're not right." August didn't speak. Louder, simply moved onward, holding a shotgun. He killed the coyote who stalked his livestock years ago with the same one. "She lives with me. I only require that right." The man sprang forward. The firearm shot wildly. The horses let out a yell. Juana fled for the home, gasping for air. There is a Colt revolver inside, above the fireplace. When she pulled it down, her hands shook. She took a step back outside. August was kneeling on the man's chest on the ground. With trembling arms, Juana raised the pistol. "Release him." The man pivoted. She fired. Although the shot missed, he flinched still. The man was thrown off when August rolled. One to the gut, one to the jaw. The man moaned in shock. August used rope to tie his hands. When the sheriff finally showed up, he took the man without inquiry. He didn't require evidence because he had heard the stories and seen worse. August was found that evening with her arms encircling herself near the sycamore. "I was scared," she muttered. He gave a nod. "I agree." She gave him a long, silent gaze at that point. "However, you remained." Yes, he did. Slowly, spring arrived. Mud formed when the snow melted. The grass reappeared like a promise as the ground grew softer. Juana started sowing seeds near the sycamores. August came from town with her new boots. Did not speak up. They were simply left on the porch. She discovered him with a splinter in his palm one morning. She knelt, took his hand, and pulled it out with firm fingers. She didn't say anything, but it was clear from the way she looked at him that he was more than just a man, that he was her first home. 1 week later, he discovered her necklace, a turquoise beaded chain with a single white feather, gently resting on the mantel. It was a sign of staying rather than leaving. They took a seat on the bench under the sycamore that night. He gave her a look. "You no longer work for me," he remarked in a rough voice. "Just live here with me." Her eyes gleamed, but she didn't grin. There was more. They didn't share a kiss. They were not required to. As the prairie wind blew between them like a hymn, they simply sat together. Tell me where you're looking from in this vast ancient globe before you leave. Leave your nation or city in the comments. I'm fascinated by the reach of these Wild West tales. And if you were moved by this story of unassuming bravery and second chances, please say something for the kind of man who defends without showing off. If you think that healing, not hurry, is the foundation of households where love blossoms, slowly. Feel free to subscribe, like, and comment. There will be more Fireside Tales soon. You must not miss the next.